Yeah.
Well, hello and welcome to the Monkey Boot podcast with me, Lamin and Akshat. Say hi, Akshat.
You're right.
And today, obviously, the new season starts tomorrow. Some of us are more excited for that than others, for reasons you'll find out. But yeah, we're gonna break it down, give our thoughts and opinions on kind of each team, how they'll do, and kind of at the end we'll kind of give a predictions table, the Monkey Boot predictions table. So we'll see at the end of the season how close we were. But yeah,
Sounds good. It's been so many months since we did the last episode, so I can't even remember what our predictions what were last season. I know me and Romain did it, and
yeah.
just as a disclaimer, I hope that we don't get it completely wrong like we did with Sheffield United last season. So, because
Where did we have them last season?
well, I think both me and Romain had them at 20th last season.
Oh, mad. Okay.
They did bits, finishing top
Yeah,
of the table, wasn't it? Yeah.
I think it was 6, 8. No, it was 8, wasn't it?
No, Arsenal came 8th. I think they might have came 9th.
No, even still, that's a good achievement.
Considering they just came up, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Do you
envisage
something similar from any of the newly promoted teams this season?
No. So I think West Brom and Fulham, I think especially Fulham are going to have a hard time. I think just off the way Fulham played last time they were up, unless they had a complete culture change, they're going to be in for a bit of a shock. And West Brom, I just don't know if their squad's going to be deep enough. Obviously, they just bought Dean Garner, which I'm vexed about, but I still don't know if their squad is, good enough yet to be competing. So, I think Leeds will finish mid-table, maybe like between 11th and 15th. I think they'll have a decent season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think we're going to have any top of the table heroics from any promoted sides this year.
All right, we'll go into our table predictions sort of later on once we've discussed all 20 teams in a little bit of detail. You mentioned Dean Garner. For those who don't know who he is, as a West Ham fan, talk to me about him.
All right, so this guy joined our academy when he was about 9 or 10. It's about 2009. Come up through the ranks, played really well. Had his debut, I think, 2 seasons ago under Pellegrini. Scored 2 goals against Macclesfield, an 8-0 win, which was really good for him. We all really like the look of him from that season, 2 seasons ago. And then obviously last season he went out on loan to West Brom, which we all thought was a really good move. We were really excited and, excited for him to come back and hit the ground running. Pre-season this year, comes back, hits the ground running. A £45 million striker. He's like, oh yeah, I love playing with him. And then 6 days later, we sell him to West Brom at 18 million, which was their very first bid. We could have got close to 30, I think, if we pushed it. Or if they didn't want to pay that, we could have kept him, which would have been even better. But no, they just cashed in on him straight away, and he's gone to West Brom. And
the first rule of negotiations is never accept a first bid. That's negotiation tactics 101.
Exactly, and like a 9-year-old child training in fucking match attacks will tell you the same thing, But David Sullivan somehow doesn't seem to understand that, despite being a billionaire, which just doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So things aren't looking too great for West Ham. I saw Mark Noble's tweet a handful of days ago where he essentially voiced your thoughts on Twitter and agreed completely. Another thing I heard with West Ham is Jack Wilshere. They're looking to mutually terminate that contract. Why?
Good. You wait for space, innit? He's taking $100,000 a week and doing nothing.
It's not smart, is it, to keep an injury player on such high wages?
It wasn't smart to sign him on such high wages in the first place.
Yeah.
There we go again. David Sullivan showing his fantastic business acumen by signing another stupid deal. You know what I mean? On paper, he's a good player, yeah, but obviously hasn't performed for us at all. Hasn't barely played for us at all.
A very grim picture at the moment about West Ham. Is there anything that Hammers fans can be positive about going forward this season? Declan Rice, maybe. Hopefully, Anderson coming back in form.
Declan Rice, no, because as soon as a bid comes in from Chelsea, he's gone, and I think one's coming soon. I think our positives this season are pretty much Jared Bowen. I think he's going to be huge. If Antonio can do any of what he did post lockdown last year, that we'll be laughing because he had 10 goals post lockdown, which is crazy.
Yeah.
No, in the season he had 8 goals post lockdown. Sorry, which is crazy. Souček, obviously, he might not play tomorrow because he came into contact with someone with COVID, so I think he might be quarantining. But there's a shout he might play. I'm not sure. But he again is another player who's going to be massive for us as well. But other than that, honestly, I really like Seb Haller. I really like Felipe Anderson.
Yeah.
But we need something from them. I'm not even being optimistic about it. I'm just going to assume we're going to get the same output as last year. Even though Moyes seems to, he seemed to ramp it up. He's made Haller. Haller seems to have lost a bit of muscle mass, so he's a bit more mobile. Because before he was if he wasn't involved in the play, he was kind of out of it because he wasn't very quick. But he does look a bit sharper. So yeah. I really hope that Haller, Anderson, Bowen, Souček, our attack. If our attack is on fire, then I'm confident in Ogbono and Diop hopefully to concede 1 or 2 goals a game. But if we can score 2 to 3, then should be okay.
Yeah, I think West Ham fans are feeling down in the dumps at the moment. But I think you've got enough quality to stay up at the moment. Let's talk about Wolves next.
Yeah.
What do you think about them? I know they lost Matt Doherty to Spurs this season. I think this is going to be a massive loss for them. I think he's an amazing right wing back for them.
Yeah.
2 seasons in a row they've been in the Premier League now, and both seasons they've got into Europe as a newly promoted side. Do you see this continuing? I know they've bought a lot of Portuguese players and they've bought well with their contacts. I can't remember the agent who works with them, but I know he's got a lot of contacts in Liga NOS, and they bring a lot of Portuguese players in. Do you see them sort of finishing top 6, pushing for that spot?
I think 7th personally. I think they're going to have another good season. I think they play really good football, have really good quality. Signed again some really good young players. So it looks like Nuno Santos building a project there. But I think interesting thing that I heard someone mention on Twitter that I think would be pretty fucking dope for Wolves if they get it, or not get it, but do it, is actually put Adama Traore as a right wing back.
He played there a couple of seasons ago for a fair bit, yeah.
Yeah, if they put Adama Traore as a right wing back, if he sorts his defending out, I don't think there's a better right wing back in the league, if I'm being completely honest. Because we've seen his quality going forward, his pace, his strength. You can just look at pictures of him. He's a big boy. So imagine him taking on wingers and then outpacing the wing backs. I think that would be a really good option for them, and I think that could elevate them because there was a lot of times he came on 75th minute and they scored 2 goals. They scored because he was on the pitch. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think there's either they do that, but if they can't replace him, then replace Doherty properly, then I'd say, bro, just put him at right wing back. And I hope he does a job for you.
Adama Traore and Jimenez had one of the best partnerships in the league. I think they assisted each other and scored with that sort of link up. I think it was more than anyone else in the league last season. So that
I would not be surprised.
Yeah, that was good for Wolves. I think that the impressive thing about Wolves is their defensive structure and their shape. I think they're very hard to beat, very solid, and I think they've got some talented players. I feel that they don't quite have enough to push into that top 6. I see them finishing maybe 7th or 8th, because I think they're competing with Leicester and Everton this season. We briefly spoke about West Brom earlier. A lot of people have them tipped to be going back down into the Championship. and I do like Slaven Bilic as a manager, but I feel like they're just a championship side. I don't think they have enough quality in that squad to stay up.
I agree 100%. I think, like, I love Slav so much. Obviously, West Ham player, West Ham manager. In our
Yeah,
last season, like, I remember I was on holiday and I was drunk and I was just crying about Slaven Bilic. Like, that's how much, like, I love the man.
yeah.
But that squad isn't Premier League material. I hope they're proving me wrong because I like Slav, and obviously they got Grady now, so I'm going to be following them for him. So I hope they do all right. But I just don't see it. I think the league's too good. The Premier League's too good. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, teams like Burnley will turn them over like 3-4-0 if they're not careful.
He also came up with one of the funniest quotes I've ever seen on I think it was the World Cup. He was sitting with Gary Neville and Ian Wright, and he
Yeah.
and asked him a question, and he was like, "I don't care." To be honest, I don't care, and I thought I love that honesty from him. Fair play.
For real.
But yeah, I think they are going to go back down. I don't think they have enough in their squad. Next up, Spurs. We mentioned Doherty. I think that's going to be one of the signings of the season, to be honest. I think Aurier was suspect defensively.
Okay.
And I think Spurs are going to be dangerous this season. You know, Jose Mourinho, personally, for all his faults as as a manager, tactically, I still think he's got it. I think
Yeah.
when he has certain characters in that dressing room, certain leaders like a Harry Kane, I think they can help Jose keep sort of the balance in that dressing room.
Yeah.
Or every time he's been successful, you know, at United things went sour when Carrick retired, when Rooney left, when Zlatan left. You know, prior to that at Chelsea, he was successful because he had the likes of Diego Costa, and he had a John Terry and a Frank Lampard there still, and he's always had these leaders. But when things go wrong, when he doesn't have those leaders with him, I think he struggles.
Yeah.
I do think they're going to be very dangerous next season. Because they were very unlucky with injuries. You know, Harry Kane is still one of the best strikers in the league.
Yeah.
You know, the options in behind him: Bergwijn, Dele Alli, Eric Lamela, Lucas Moura, Heung-min Son. Absolutely brilliant in attack. Plenty of options, plenty of dynamism. And I genuinely think they're going to challenge seriously for the top four this season. However, I think they will just miss out because I think Jose Mourinho's remit from Daniel Levy was to win a trophy. And I feel that what he did with Man United in the 16-17 season, where he, in essence, sacked off the league in March or whatever it was to win the Europa League, I think if he's not comfortably in the top four, he'll do that again. And I wouldn't be surprised if Spurs win a trophy this season.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I think he'll, yeah, I think he'll definitely be gunning for a trophy. I think that'll definitely, if it's not the league, if they don't start the league off the blistering form, he'll focus on the FA Cup and the League Cup, even, you know, just anything for Spurs at this point. But also just another thing about Spurs, they signed Højbjerg from Southampton,
Good,
and I was thinking about that, and
very
that's a really really good signing.
yeah.
Is
They've got plenty of options in that midfield. You know, Lascelles
Yeah,
and Ndombele, Eric Dyer can play there. You know, who am I missing out? Harry Winks, Højbjerg. I think they've got plenty of options there. It's going to be a very functional midfield, and I think Jose likes that. He likes you know, things to be structured in his side. And I think Højbjerg will provide that link between defence and attack. You know, Lo Celso
yeah,
does very well, but you know, I think just more options in that centre of the park would be good. And I think Højbjerg's a decent signing. Nothing to write home about, but I think he'll fit in relatively well.
yeah. No, I agree. I think he's a very very solid signing for them. I think a bigger loss for Southampton than a gain for Spurs personally, but yeah,
Speaking of Southampton, Hassan Hutel, he survived last year's 9-0 thrashing by Leicester, and I've got to say that was a very brave decision by the board and one that ultimately paid off.
I
I'm
thought he was gone.
I thought he was
He
gone
was gone
because of
after that.
I thought he was gone because of the nature of the beast. However, I think I respect and I like the fact that he stayed on, not because it worked out, but because I genuinely feel at a club, any club, in order for there to be success, there needs to be continuity. Every time a new manager comes in, the system changes. He wants different players. It's expensive for a club. It's costly for a club. And
West Ham is a prime example.
West Ham is a prime example. And I think managers struggle at the beginning, and I think owners and boards and fans are very unforgiving, especially in this social media age. I remember I saw this thing on Twitter. I saw a picture of Sir Alex Ferguson with his hands over his mouth, and United were losing 2-0 at Oxford in his first game in charge, and Man United sat 19th in the table with 30 points from their first 14 games in 1986. And I know times have changed, but Sir Alex Ferguson could have easily been sacked on multiple occasions in his early reign, and you saw the benefit of continuity. And I love the fact that Southampton did that with Hassan Hutel, and I think they're going to go from strength to strength this season. I think there'll be a solid mid-table finish because they do have quality.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think James Ward-Prowse is growing into his own now. He's really picked up and taken the mantle at Southampton. Really, he's a free kick taker. He's their captain now as well, I think.
Do you think as much as you would have hoped? He burst onto the scene 4 or 5 years ago now, and he's still at Southampton. No big club has come in for him. Why do you think that is?
Yeah. I think it's fine. I think he's a really good player. I think the centre midfield position these days is so saturated with talent, and because he's such an pardon.
Have you seen England in the last couple of fucking games against, what was it, Denmark and Iceland?
Yeah, but I'm not saying English centre mids. I'm saying centre mids in general.
Yeah.
So, unless you're a specialist at something, so you've got your defensive midfielders, you've got your kind of box to box midfielders, you've got the passing, the great passing midfielders. He's not a specialist. He does everything. He's a jack of all trades. And in this day and age, I think teams look for specialists because you put specialists together. So Man United, for example, Matic, Pogba, Fernandes. Matic is that brick wall. Pogba's the spraying passes guy. Fernandes is the link between the midfield and the striker, the little intricate guy. I think teams are looking more for that than guys who can run around and do everything, like a Mark Noble, for example, who just runs around and does everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more tactics now, whereas I think Ward-Prowse is a more traditional centre midfielder who's kind of, it's my job to cover every blade of grass on this pitch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, completely understand.
Yeah. Well, I think Southampton will do well. I think they'll be fine.
What about Sheffield United, the team that everyone disrespected at the beginning of last season? Chris Wilder has, raised a lot of eyebrows with his play with the overlapping centre backs, which I don't think anyone has ever seen before in recent memory in the Premier League. What do you think about Sheffield United? Do you think it'll be second season syndrome, or do you think that they'll, finish mid-table again comfortably?
You read my mind. I was literally going to say I think it'll be second season syndrome, but it's not going to be as bad as we used to. I think they're going to have a slight slump. They're going to feel, the effects of being a Premier League team again, and seeing the 3 new hungry teams come up as well. I think will give them a bit of a shock. But I think as long as they don't get complacent and as Chris Wilder said, in one of his interviews, he's like, this team isn't made of Premier League players. It's made of Championship League One players that they put together, and their spirit and teamwork rather than their talent is the reason why they're good. So as long as they don't get complacent and they stick together like they did last season, and there's no dressing room shenanigans and no diva personalities, XYZ, I think they'll be fine.
I don't think Chris Wilder will allow that either, to be honest.
I don't think he'd take that shit at all. If he had a Marko Arnautovic, he'd sell him for a penny if he had the chance.
Yeah, I think he's I think he's set in his ways, and he has something that he has values and morals, and he sticks by them, and I think that's very integral to success at any level. You need to have those values and morals.
Exactly.
Do you think, without giving away the position or whatever, do you think they'll get relegated, or do you think they'll just survive?
Nah, they'll survive. They'll be comfortable. I think they'll be comfortable. They won't push on, but I don't think they'll be in much of a threat of relegation.
Another sort of team near the bottom half of the table last season that has seemingly bought well has been Newcastle. They've bought Callum Wilson from Bournemouth. They got Ryan Fraser on a free transfer, and they bought Jamal Lewis from Norwich. I think their signings have been very shrewd, and I think Steve Bruce. Obviously, the takeover thing didn't happen, and that's going to be a sucker punch to Newcastle fans. But I think they've bought very well for who they are, Newcastle, and I think they'll do well this season. I think they'll survive relegation comfortably, and you never know, they might battle for the top half of the table. But I think they're going to be very comfortable this season. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they'll be fine as well. I think got a good squad. Got my arch nemesis Callum Wilson, but I think that is a good signing for them. And they've still got Jamal Lascelles at the back and Dubravka in goal. So defense is decent. That game they played West Ham just before that. Also, go on.
Do you think Newcastle have improved since Rafa Benitez has left? Do you think Steve Bruce has taken them on to another level?
No. I think they're just now a solid Premier League side. I don't think Steve Bruce will get them much further than a solid Premier League side like they are.
Unless the ownership changes.
Yeah, unless the ownership changes and he can splash out a bit. But other than that, no, not really.
Fair enough. Next up, Manchester United. I'm going to try not to be biased here, but what are your thoughts on Man United and where they'll finish this season? Do you think they can challenge for the league?
I think if Sancho comes, yes, because he'll give you another dynamic in attack. So, you got Greenwood, Martial, Rashford, but you can say bring one of those three off the bench would obviously be Greenwood of the three. Probably it could be Rashford, to be honest, given the end of last season. But yeah, that's just their attack at that point is looking so potent with Fernandes. If Pogba finds his form, obviously you've got Van der Beek. I don't know if him and Pogba's going to particularly work. I don't know if Van der Beek's because I don't want Pogba being more defensive, but again, I don't want Van der Beek being more defensive. Will they take turns? How will that work? I don't know.
I think Van der Beek has been brought in as a squad player, and that's not to say he's backup, but that's to say, last season you saw Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He looked to the bench when he saw Bruno Fernandes and Paul Pogba knackered, and he saw Jesse Lingard and Andreas Pereira, and that's not a slight on those two players. They're good players, but I just sense the required quality.
No, they're not. They're both shit.
And you saw against Sevilla in the Europa League.
Yeah.
Ole Gunnar Solskjaer waited until the 87th minute to make a change because he just doesn't trust what's on the bench. So if it's not Fernandes' day, you're right. You can be like, all right, 60 minutes gone. Off you go, son. It's not your day. Van der Beek, go on. You do for 30 minutes. And I think the qualities that he offers, it's a weird one because I think we brought him as a Jack Grealish alternative. I think 80 for Aston Villa is what they wanted, and I think we saw that as too much. And I think he offers that intelligence, that off-the-ball movement, that energy, that tenacity, as well as that quality on the ball. And I think he gives, with his movement, he takes, the opposition defender has to have an eye on him because he's so intelligent with his movement. And I think that allows Bruno and Pogba to have an extra second or two on the ball. And, when they have time, then I think they're gonna hurt teams very much. But I agree with you. I think Manchester United, alongside Chelsea, are dark horses for the league this season. I think there's one or two areas that we need to improve on. Squad depth especially. But I think we'll be there or thereabouts, comfortable top four, but not quite there for the title challenge.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a sensible take for United. I think, Maguire obviously comes back after his nonsense. Hopefully he's all right. And is it still Lindelof? I think I personally would get in another centre back and have Lindelof as cover, but that's just my personal opinion. In goal, obviously, you've got Henderson and De Gea fighting for that, and that's again another one for Solskjaer. But I think defensively, you're not looking bad at all.
Yeah, I mean, we conceded 36 goals last season, and that was only 3 more than Liverpool, who had, people say they had the best right back in the world, the best left back in the world, the best defender in the world, and the best goalkeeper in the world. So conceding, only 3 goals more than them, with all the injuries we had and all the individual mistakes, shock mistakes that we had, I think it wasn't too bad.
Exactly.
It has definitely improved the setup of the squad and the structure massively. But talking about the title, Manchester City, they've bought Ferran Torres, they've bought who else have they bought? Nathan Ake, and have they made a third signing? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
I think it's just those two, isn't it?
Yeah, as of yet.
But
we're going to get Messi, obviously.
But I think Man City and Liverpool are definitely the 2 top teams to beat. So let's talk about them both at the same time. Which one do you think has the edge for the title this season?
First, I'll start off. I think both their new home kits are sexy. I actually want to get that Liverpool shirt. I'm not going to lie. I don't like Liverpool. But anyway, I saw another point I saw on Twitter, which I thought was really, really good. And it's the point I'm going to stick with, right? It's different when you have the trophy than when you don't have it, right?
It's a lot harder to retain it than it is to win it the first time, yeah.
I think the reason it's a lot harder to retain it is because, A, they're on the top, so everyone's like, right, we're coming for you, specifically. Like, that's what everyone was coming for City after their 100-point season. Everyone was coming after Arsenal, after Invincible. After every good season, that team is the target. And the second one is Man City, obviously, having been so far behind last year, after doing what they did the year before and the year before that, they're going to be pissed. Pep Guardiola is going to be pissed. Yeah. They will want that title so bad. And Kevin De Bruyne, I think Kevin De Bruyne is going to turn into Superman. Like, he's actually just going to just PFA Player of the Year again next year for him, I think. I think he's gonna have a mad season. He's gonna score like 15 goals and get 20 assists in the league or something mad like that. Because he's not playing around next year. Because also he's getting older, isn't it? He's like 26 now or something like that.
De Bruyne is like 29.
Oh, exactly. He's getting old, so he needs to make the use of his prime, which is now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean the Champions League is their aim, and I think they have a little bit of a mental block when it comes to that. But domestically, I think they're flying.
Yeah.
But yeah, Liverpool and City are obviously the 2 top teams to beat, and you are right. It's a lot harder to retain a league than it is to win it the first time. In the last 10 years, only one side has ever retained the league, and that was Man City the year before last. When they got 3 points, and then they got 98 points the season after.
Yeah.
So it is very, very tough. And Liverpool, listen, obviously there's no shock. As a Man United fan, I'm not the biggest fan of Liverpool, but you do have to respect their style of play. You do have to respect their quality. My only sort of issue with people who say that they're going to win the league again is, if you look at their first 11 in July 2018, it's the exact same 11 as it is in September 2020. And that's, 26 months where the first 11 has been the same. I think the rule to staying on top is to invest while you're at the top. Otherwise you need to keep improving. You need to keep adapting your game. And I think 2 years and 2 months with the same first 11, it can become a little bit stale, especially when you've achieved everything you wanted to achieve with the Champions League and the Premier League. That's not to say they don't have quality. They definitely do. But I just feel that teams, after 2 years of playing against essentially the same system, the same 11 players, the same style of play, I think I think other teams will have figured them out a little bit now, and I think that there will be a drop off next season. So yeah, personally, I think Man City are the favourites for the league, and because of that staleness in that Liverpool squad, I just wonder if they're gonna drop off a fair bit.
Yep, you literally read my mind. I think the fact that obviously they got Mane and Salah, who are bloody incredible, and then they're in their prime now.
Yeah.
But I think people have sussed them out, like you said, and I think it's going to be a difficult one for them to show they've got another level to it. Right now, Liverpool are kind of living up to the Manchester legends. Can they do it again? That's the big thing for them now. So we'll see.
Yeah. They won one trophy 2 seasons ago, and they won one trophy last season. Mm-hmm. Admittedly, they're the 2 biggest trophies you can win. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Liverpool do. Next up, Leicester City. I do like a lot of Leicester's players, and I do like Brendan Rodgers. I think he's a decent manager, but I think they're going to drop off this season, especially after losing Ben Chilwell.
Yeah.
And Jamie Vardy I think he's a year older. I think, is he 33, 34? He's going to be 30.
Yeah, he's going to be 33 soon.
He's 33 now. He's going to be 34 in a handful of months.
Oh, fair.
So I think we're going to start to see a slight decline on Jamie Vardy's output. And I think Iheanacho isn't quite ready yet to score you 15, 20.
He hasn't been quite ready yet for his whole career, though. He's like 25 now.
Yeah, I think Leicester is still going to be up there. I still think they're going to be a good team, but I think they've got that mental block that within their squads. I still can't shake off the fact that at one stage last season there were 14 points. I think in January there were 14 points ahead of Manchester United, and they ended up finishing 5th. At some point during the season they were unlikely. They were unlikely challengers for the league. I think it was like December. They were like 8 points off Liverpool, and people were like, you never know. But
exactly.
And I do know injuries and suspensions made them suffer at the back end of last season. But I think they're gonna finish sort of outside the top 6 this season. I think they're gonna go down a couple of places.
Yeah, I think they're still a solid, top half side. They're a very solid team. Good players, Sionchu. They've got Ricardo right back, and they've got a good side. But I think they're going to regress a little bit. I don't know. I haven't seen what signings they've made. I think Harvey Barnes will have a good season. I think he might be Jamie Vardy's, kind of replacement at some point. Because I reckon he can play up front if they give him the trust to do it. Because I really rate him.
Yeah, Harvey Barnes did well last season, and I think with an extra years playing, game time, regular game time, I think he'll mature a little bit. And I think they've got talent in there. I still think their right back Ricardo Pereira was out for a long period of time at the back end of last season, and I think he's going to come back in October. I think the scan said. So he was a big miss, but I do think they've got quality, and I do think their midfield is actually one of the best in the league. Wilfred Ndidi, Yuri Tillmans, and James Maddison. It's not a midfield to be snuffed at.
Exactly.
But I just think that mental block, and I think there are other teams that are slightly better than them.
Yeah, no, I think definitely. Their real aim now is to they got Europa League, didn't they? The qualifiers.
Yeah, they finished 5th. Yeah, so Europa League.
So they'll have that this year, which will be good for them. Get a bit of European experience under their belts as well.
Well, that's the thing.
But whether that will have an impact, I think it will.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see for that. Well, good luck to them. Shout out to my boss Matt Berry, who's a Leicester
fan. Next up, Leeds United. I'm actually really excited to see what they do. I've been watching Leeds for a couple of years now, since Bielsa took over, and I love their style of play. And I think they're going to do really well this season. I think they'll do something similar to what Sheffield United did last season. I think they've got a structure. I think they've got a plan. They've got a style of play. They've got a manager they believe in, and I think they've got some decent players. The only doubt in my mind I have is Norwich had the same thing. I wonder if Leeds are going to be naive, like Norwich were last season. Daniel Farke last year had his set style of play. They had some talented players, but they were naive in the Premier League. And Bielsa is the type of guy, similar to Pep, actually, that will very rarely deviate from his philosophy. And I don't think he'll adopt, that style of pragmatism that you sometimes need in the Premier League. But that being said, I still think they've got a wonderful system, wonderful manager, some good players. Calvin Phillips, I think, is one of the best defensive midfielders that England currently have. And I think they'll do well this season. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they'll be all right, comfortable. I don't think they'll go back down.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they'll have some trouble at some points in the season. I reckon they'll have a few blip points, which is the reason they won't push on to do what Sheffield United did last season, in my opinion. But I think other than that, they got nothing to worry about either. I think for them, it's just getting the foundation set to try and get back to where they were before. But obviously, that now is a million times harder than it was back in the early 2000s. So we'll have to see.
As you saw with Manchester City over the last couple of years, I think it takes a very specific style of centre-back, someone who's comfortable on the ball, to be able to play that, play out from the back under all types of pressure. And I think if you have that centre-back, like Manchester City found out without Laporte last season, you can really struggle defensively. Do you think that Ben White going back to Brighton will have a massive impact on Leeds United? Because he was integral for them winning the championship last season.
I think so. It's obviously a big miss when a lone player was a huge part of your promotion push, because the inevitability that they're going is something that the managers probably had to think about. And it's easier said than done getting that replacement in. But I think hopefully they can plug that hole with someone. Obviously, Brighton got a gem back on their hand, so they're probably laughing, like West Ham should be. Sorry to make it about West Ham, but that's how we should be laughing. But yeah, no, I think
I can tell it stung you, that Diangana.
Oh, bro! If I could actually go and I want to hug Diangana and I want to slap David Sullivan, I just want to slap him and be like, why did you say yes? Come on, man. Should have been like, no, have Yarmolenko instead or something. I don't fucking know.
Yeah. But I think that Leeds will have enough, as I said. I think, they brought Rodrigo from Valencia, who I think is one of Spain's starting strikers for the national team. So I think he's going to be a great signing. Moving on to another promoted team, Fulham. A lot of people have them as going down. Scott Parker, I think a lot of people like him as a person.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's question marks around the quality in Fulham's side and Scott Parker's managerial ability. And do you think that they'll go straight back down like they did? What was it, 2 years ago, something like that?
I think it was like 3.
Something like that. I remember they came up and spent like 100 million on players, and they really disrupted the ethos of that squad.